You do.
I guess it's what I do. So the world has not blown up, although Putin's threatening to do so.
Yeah.
What do you think when you hear stuff on the radio or you see stuff on the tube about Putin's threats?
I just think the dude's lost his fucking mind. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, because think about it. Like he went into this, I believe, thinking, like you said, he's going to steamroll in there and just take over. And he hasn't. This has been going on for months now. Mm-hmm. And I think he's at, the way I look at it, he's at a place of desperation. Like when you start making threats like that, you can't win. Like you're in a can't win situation. He's acting out of desperation. And I feel like just someone inside needs to take him out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that might happen.
Well, exactly, because when you start making those veiled threats of nuclear attack, and I mean it's scary, but I don't think it will happen. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because I think someone will stop him inside before it gets to that point. Yeah, I think people have realized he's lost his fucking mind, and we just need to put an end to this shit.
So, a couple things on the Putin front. Mm-hmm. So, Russia and India are now pushing back and trying to get him to come up with some kind of exit strategy. Mm-hmm. Because I think both of those nations know that the world can't go forward.
But you said Russia and India. You mean?
I meant to say China.
China,
China and India. His two biggest allies.
They know he can't win.
They're pushing back now, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost, how could they not? Right?
Yeah, I mean, if he was going to win, he would have won already. Like, that's how you got to look at it. Like, it would have been over by now. It's not. So you're in a no-win situation. So, of course, they're going to say, let's find an exit. Let's just end this shit.
Can he survive, though, in a post-war with Ukraine?
Survive physically or politically?
Politically.
No, I don't think so.
And maybe physically they could be connected.
I don't think so, simply for the fact that this move was so, it was just so rash, and it was done with such... it wasn't strategic in my mind. It was done out of rage, and so there was some level of anger that provoked him to do this. Right? Like,
what?
I mean, I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know, because it doesn't, like, why all of a sudden? Like, I understand they're taking over parts of the territory and whatnot, but I just think that when you go into this smaller country, right, and you think you're this military superpower, you're going to come in and roll through, take what you want, and it's going to be over quick, and it wasn't. Like, you lost your political capital in my mind. Mm-hmm. Like, that's really what it is. So I think he's not going to survive politically. When this is all said and done, the dust settles, he's done politically.
The people are pushing back. They've always somewhat, I think, have pushed back from the beginning, but it's been muted. But now, because he's enacted the draft, I think it's this past Wednesday.
Yeah, yes.
And the military is going into homes and pulling people out of their beds and enlisting them to go fight in Ukraine. And I guess the citizenry is pissed off.
Yeah.
And now they're not even being very discreet about displaying their displeasure in him.
There's protests all over the country.
Right.
But take a step back. Think about that for a second. How hard are these people going to fight? You come in and pull me out of my bed in the middle of the night, like, I'm just going to be a body, right? I'm not going to put much effort into this fucking fight. I'm going to be a body. So what's the point of the draft, right? You're just putting bodies in harm's way. You're not taking people out of their homes and creating strategic fighters or strategic warriors. No, you're taking people. We need more bodies. That's it. What's the use of that? You have the bodies now and you can't win. More bodies with zero skill isn't going to help the effort, in my opinion.
It also goes to show how inept his military has been, and how
exactly right.
And maybe how we, as in the West, might have underestimated the amount of actual ground forces, skilled ground forces he had. Or did Ukraine just kill a lot of fucking soldiers?
Well, I think we underestimated Ukraine's tenacity.
Oh, the whole world did.
The whole world did. I think we overestimated Russia's military power.
In conventional terms.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, think about that. If you, we were talking before the show, he picked the wrong season. Like, how fucking stupid are you?
Yeah.
The tanks get stuck in the mud. So, okay, we can only go on roads. Okay, Ukraine's not that fucking dumb. Just blow up the roads. Okay, now what are you going to do?
Yeah, the whole thing didn't make any sense. And I
Like,
I think it's interesting because he was lauded as being this, what is their CIA called?
The KGB.
KGB. As being some very
Is a KGB agent.
stellar agents, co-op or whatever that is. But it's interesting that what has shown out to be true is just because someone's a great spy does not necessarily mean that they're a great military strategist.
Right.
You see what I mean? And the people that the generals, I guess, they weren't that great either.
Right. Just like, just because you were a senator your whole life does not mean you're going to be a good president. I mean, it's just, you can't equate the two. Like, they're different skill sets.
But we do. That's
what
the problem.
Humanity
That's the problem.
Does. Exactly right. Yes, exactly.
Right? Just because you do one thing, you're good to good to run the world.
Right. Yes.
You run a grocery store.
Yes.
You're qualified to run America. I mean, we're so fucked. That's
exactly right.
But in that instance, obviously, he was not a military strategist.
No, not at all. Not at all.
He might have been in spy games. Maybe he was great, but
sure. And you may have people around you that can help with the strategy, but I feel like he's
apparently not.
But I feel like he's just kind of doing what he wants.
The biggest fear, obviously, is that he's going to, launch a tactical nuke. I don't know what that means, but he's, set off a nuclear weapon of some kind. What's your gut tell you there?
I don't think it'll happen, honestly. I think no. My gut is telling me no, because there's too many countries over there close to Russia. I mean, that one, like, who's he going to aim? Who's going to go? Ukraine? I mean, okay, Ukraine. He's threatened, like, it could somewhere in Europe. Like, we have no idea. I just think those are empty threats. Like, that's what I think. I think that's what I mean when I said earlier, he's in desperation mode.
Yeah,
because you shouldn't have. If you can win the war, you shouldn't have to threaten nukes. Like, that's the last ditch. Like they use the expression, the nuclear option. That's when everything else has failed. Okay, so if you're there and your allies are saying, "Hey, dude, you may want to think about a fucking exit strategy. This isn't working." He's just saying nukes to try and end the thing, and I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, I think there's too many people pulling on him to not do it.
So personally, for what it's worth, I just think Putin's a dog. I think he's just a fucking mutt, and he is acting like a dog, especially a dog that doesn't have any abilities to strategize anything.
No.
He's backed into a corner, and as dogs do, they freaking gnaw and they fight, right? Yep. The fear is going to be, is he actually that stupid to actually launch something like that? I mean, we don't know.
Right, we don't
know.
We
don't know. But if he does not want to end his own life, and if he does have some love for his country, if that even exists, right? Because he professes to. That's why he's trying to fight for to regain the old Soviet Union footprint on the world.
Right.
Well, he's not going to do anything, I wouldn't think, that's going to take his own life.
You would
if
hope
he
not.
can help it.
Correct. You would fucking hope not.
But
he's also unhinged. But I still, my gut is telling me no, it's not going to happen.
This isn't the Putin that he showed the world for decades. This is a different animal.
It's a different guy. Yeah, totally different guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to bounce around a little bit here. So gasoline prices, thankfully, have lowered a bit to 3.71.
I noticed it on my way here when I filled up my tank. It was $4.09 for
buy that pricey stuff.
I do because
the vehicle you drive for sure.
Yeah, but it used to be. I remember one of our first shows. It was like over $5, so it's come down. Thank you.
Now, so digging into that a little bit, apparently, I guess is somewhat cyclical toward the end of summer.
Yeah. Yep.
But also there shows quite a bit of change in Americans' driving habits. We basically decided not to drive as much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because it's easier to do that too, right? Think about the things the average American drives for. You could go to work, right? Grocery shop, leisure, and to pick up food. Those are the main vacation, other things like that. Those are typically, if I'm leaving my house, it's to either go to work, go to the grocery store, go to buy something, go to eat somewhere, or maybe go to the gym. Like, that's kind of where I go. So people are working remotely, right? Curbs that driving. You can order all your food off of Instacart or DoorDash, right? Those two things. You can even like shop online and get it all delivered to you.
Right.
So a lot of those reasons why people would drive have been curbed just because, and I think if you looked at the statistics, you would find use of those apps have increased tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know for myself, like for instance, the golf outings I played in this summer, instead of me driving to Dick's to get golf balls, now I'm sure it probably cost me more money if I thought through it. I would just order them on Instacart, have them drop off golf balls and tees to my house.
Yeah, I have not walked through a grocery store and bought groceries. Whether like occasionally I go to Giant Eagle. There's because I buy frozen type of bread that I buy is frozen, so I got to get it there and stuff like that. But most of the groceries I get are usually from Target.
Yeah,
and it gets delivered, and Walmart has it picked and ready for me just to drive by and toss it in the car, and I go, and I just don't want to waste time anymore grocery shopping or walking through any department stores. I'm at the point where I don't even want to walk through a mall. I know you just recently took your children to the mall, and I made a joke. I mean, so. What did you observe? Was there anyone walking around the mall? Was it busy?
It was actually packed.
Really?
It was packed. Now,
really?
There was a lot of young kids there.
That would have been, a Friday evening?
It was Saturday, yeah. And it was the Ross Park Mall, so a little bit higher end of a mall, right? It was packed with people.
Interesting.
Yeah, we walked through Nordstrom's, like we parked by Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's was packed with people.
Interesting.
There was a DJ in Nordstrom's.
Thought that.
Yeah, every store we went into was packed.
Huh.
Which was because it was interesting. I'm thinking like, okay, recession, like inflation, like this is the higher end mall. Maybe it's not going to be. It was probably the most packed I've seen it in the past year that I've been there.
Wow.
Like we walked into the Lululemon store, and there had to be 75 people in that store.
Okay.
Because the line, when I got in line to check out, it was 15 people deep.
Well, has Christmas shopping might have started, maybe?
I guess, I mean, my mom started Christmas shopping like last spring, so I think she'll listen to this and definitely make a comment.
Well, our older folk tend to do that because it's an activity. Right?
Oh my God!
I mean,
as soon as my daughter's birthday is over, my mom's like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, it's not even September yet, but no, you're probably right. But no, it was definitely. I mean, it was. There was a lot of people there.
Okay.
Which I was surprised in, like the stores. You wouldn't think that there were like the higher end expensive stores. There were a lot of people in them.
Yeah. Do you think the Americans feel like we're in a recession? Do you think Americans just throwing caution to the wind? We just don't care.
I think all of the above.
We've been through so much in the past 3 months in terms of, I mean, have we? We believe we have exactly. Because of things we've been told.
Sure.
There's been a lot of turbulence out. It's been noisy. I'll say that.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've maneuvered a lot of noise in the past couple of years. So now we're just like, fuck it. We're just going to go do our thing. Don't worry about tomorrow.
I think that is, that is part of the psyche of America right now. I also think there are probably people that have just been smart with their money and just spend it like they would normally, right? I think because again, I'm thinking just from the I was in a higher end market, right? It was a higher end mall. They have more of the luxury stores there,
right?
So typically, you would see people in those demographics they're not concerned necessarily about 8% inflation. I mean, they may be, but if you're spending money in those stores, may not be as concerned. So I think that was probably a bad segment to deduce an opinion from.
I get it.
But I do think there are a lot of Americans just kind of like, fuck it. Like, who knows what's going to happen 6 months from now? So then I also think the other side of it is like a lot of people have curb spending. Absolutely they have. You have to. I mean, things have gotten out of control, prices. Mm-hmm. I mean, out of control.
Mm-hmm. Are we, boy, I don't know how to even phrase this, but
are we fucked? Yes.
No, I don't think we are. I'm the eternal optimist.
No, I know. Absolutely.
But I do think that the idea of not living for tomorrow is permeated society in a big way since the pandemic.
Okay.
I think the people are doing a lot more live for today kind of things, whether that's if we want to talk about Gen X's versus Gen Z's or whatever, maybe there's some of that going on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that, whether the fear of of all this stuff is artificial or not. We're talking about Russia launching nuclear weapons and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's just a heightened amount of news, right?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I grew up with Reagan and the fear of some of that stuff, but it wasn't being pounded into my head every day.
Right, exactly.
If I chose not to watch any of the big three news at 6 p.m., then I could kind of miss all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Now people live in a state of perpetual fear, I believe. They really do. I think, let me take that back or rephrase that. I think people want to live in a state of perpetual fear. I think a lot of people just like feeling afraid. I've watched that over time. Maybe not consciously, but I think they're always looking for things to be afraid of. They're always looking for things to be worried about. Instead of looking at the things that are good in the world, they're always looking at what's bad. Like I know people like this. I've watched it in my own circles of people. They for every good thing they say, they point out 3 bad things. And it should be reversed in my mind. But I think we've got the pandemic caused a lot of, mental, just like a mental shakeup in people. I feel like people were living in fear through this whole pandemic, right? Constantly being told how many people are dying, how many people have coronavirus, how many people are this, how many people are that, like things you should be doing and shouldn't be doing. So people are living in this heightened sense of just agitation and fear,
right,
and they haven't reversed back to where they were, and now they're taking that heightened sense of agitation to their everyday life.
They normalized it.
It normalized it, exactly.
And
right.
In my opinion, when the pandemic kind of leaves the news cycle, and we're getting close.
Yeah, we are.
They will potentially search out something else to replace it.
Oh, yeah,
that's
100%.
sad.
Yeah, 100%.
That's sad.
Yes. Like when I stopped to get coffee on the way here, there was a woman, very nice, like, very pleasant, but had a mask on and was getting coffee next to me, but literally backed up 10 feet until all the people getting coffee around her were. I'm thinking to myself, am I missing something? Like, are we back into the? I didn't get it. There are still people living in that heightened sense, and she was probably maybe 5 years older than me, 6 years older than me. But it's just interesting to watch people now and how people are reacting to certain ththings.
Yeah, I look back on my life and I think about the invention of cable news, but even cable in general with the late 80s and watching CNN hit like in 89, maybe 90. How the first Gulf War started to become like this televised thing, and then I saw I lived through the growth of reality television. Starting way back at 60 Minutes, where they would take, news items and turn it into quasi-entertainment. Then later in the next decade, it was Inside Edition and A Current Affair. And then it was Dateline and MSNBC and all the progression of these shows where we were taking real life and putting a spin on it and being sold to the public as entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when MTV came and got into the network reality show game, and then the big networks started doing it with Lost, and I don't think Lost was, but those kinds of shows.
Yeah.
You can look at it and say, hey, Rocco, lack of creativity. They couldn't think of anything to entertain anymore. They grabbed real life and started exploiting that. But when the news really became about entertainment, as horrifying as this is, it really was after 9/11. And where people were camped out on their couch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For weeks after that. I don't think we ever really recovered from that.
No,
a portion of our society has not recovered.
100%. News then became about selling ads because they knew they had a captive audience now. I was in law school when it happened. I remember exactly where I was. 9/11 happened. I was in an interview. I remember that next month, 2 months, just coming home from class, just turning on the news. Headline news with Robin Meade. That's all I watched. I mean, I would watch that and just religiously. So the networks got smart. Okay, we have all these people watching now. Okay, how do we keep them captivated? How do we sensationalize the news? And how do we now drive more ads? Because that's when, if you look historically, that's when you saw the revenue start spiking from ad revenue. It's all because 9/11 created this captive audience because it was. The social media was kind of coming into play. The internet was there. There was more access to information. There was more access online to information. Now you have all these people, a captive audience that what they're wanting to see. How do we keep them tuned into our station to get these advertisers to pay us more money? That's what it was about, in my opinion.
I think you're spot on. The Fed just raised interest rates, the largest increase
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let me be accurate here. The largest 6-month increase in the last 41 years. Now, yeah, I'm saying that for dramatic effect because it's something.
It is.
It is something.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that interest rates are going back to where they probably need to be. That's an argument.
Sure.
That's an argument. But also, they're doing it. The Fed did it simply to try to counteract a crazy inflationary spike.
Yeah, they've done it too fast. I mean, we went the beginning of this year, interest rates were 3.22%, I believe, and now they're 6.02. Mm-hmm. Like that's a quick increase, right? If you're doing it and they've been doing it, and what inflation in August was 8.3%.
Right.
Didn't do anything, right? The whole point of raising the rates is to make the cost of borrowing money higher to take money out of the economy, right? Less money in the economy, inflation comes down. You know, they said they want to get inflation back to 2%. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I mean, and then they're calling for another one before the year's over.
Oh, it's going to come. I definitely believe that.
And that screws. And I feel bad. It screws those first-time home buyers, right? Like the people that
yes, indeed,
the millennials that are trying to buy homes because now the cost to buy a home, like my interest rate on my mortgage is 2.75%. If it was 6 point, I'd be paying another couple $100 a month.
Oh,
you know,
easy.
I mean, and that's what people aren't seeing. So now it's going to affect the real estate prices. It's going to create a whole.
Yes, yeah. It's going to. People are going to be able to afford less house.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yes.
I would hope that they still keep buying.
Well, they will,
but they're not going to be buying as much home.
No, prices will come down,
which will affect the whole market in general too.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting play, but it leads us to the discussion of inflation. Mm-hmm. From there, the discussion goes about these midterms that are coming, and inflation being one of the things that the American people, only talking about America now, the American people are suffering through. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's too dramatic to say that we're suffering through inflation. Mm-hmm. There's other things going on. You know, there's statistics showing that crime in a lot of big cities and even some rural areas, suburban areas now, has spiked. Mm-hmm. Plenty of reasons that's happening, but the biggest probably being is our attack on law enforcement.
Let's see. Let's defund the police. Crime's not going to go up. Right. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Right. I guess
it's just illogical.
Where I'm leading with this is, in theory, the party that's in now does not have a lot going for them.
No.
The party that wants power could wreck a one-car funeral. So I don't have a lot of faith that they will politically be able to gain enough confidence to take over both houses of Congress. You would think it's served up on a silver platter.
Yeah, I mean...
But the way the operation of that party is traditionally, but especially now with the current leadership, my observation is I don't give them any kind of faith. I mean, you might see a really messed up midterm here that makes no sense and ultimately doesn't set the course of the country on any kind of real change to see if maybe that works better. We might get pretty much the same old.
Well, what even a lot of the higher ups in the Democratic Party they're all saying if the midterm elections are a referendum on Biden, the Dems are done. So they have to make it not about Biden, and they have to divert the attention because if it is truly and if you look at things that have been said by people within that party. If it is, and sometimes the midterm elections are a purely a referendum on the current president.
Usually. If
it is a referendum on Biden alone, they're done. It'll be a clean sweep, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So yes, the Republicans can crash a one-car funeral. They've got to be strategic as well. Because look, the whole point of it is let's get the country back on track, regardless of what party you sit on, right? Like
you would hope.
Yeah, like you said, like I sit here. We all sit different places. We live in one country. We want the country to be on the best possible path forward for all of us, for our children, for our children's children. That's the whole goal of this. So we got to get past this bullshit of infighting. Let's fix the fucking problems. And if one of the problems is a referendum, if it is because the administration is so bad, then so be it. Then we make the change we need to make. But let's not make it about one issue or two issues. Let's make it about the whole system. We've got to fix the whole system.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch because it's almost like you would think that the society would be crazily pissed off right now with food prices, gas prices, crime that they see on the telly that might scare them, or what they're even experiencing maybe in their own place where they live, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to be afraid, but I just have that feeling that we're so wrapped up in our team that a good portion of society, even though their team might be sinking the boat, will stay there because they've got some kind of weird allegiance.
Yeah.
I'm just hopeful enough that there is a good amount of moderates, the people that really critically look at life and make decisions based upon what's going on, that might be enough to enable us to do some political change of some kind. Whether it will happen, I have no idea.
And that's what needs to be done. You're right, because and we talked about this many times in the past about people who have just picked their team and they're not willing to look at the other side. That's both teams, right? I believe to solve the problems we have in this country, we need some moderation. We need people to say, okay, let's think about this logically, regardless of what party line I sit on. I need to just look at the problem and what's the logical solution or what's the logical path forward. We're too tied up in this two-party system where it's this is our position, this is your position. I mean, you can take any issue, Second Amendment.
Yeah, because what if both positions are wrong?
Right, that's what I mean. Exactly. That's the point, right? And there's been situations where both, in my opinion, both parties are wrong. Like, there is a third alternative, which is a lot better than the fucking two. And
sometimes the alternative is to do nothing.
Also true. Yes, but it's like, I mean, and it just frustrates me because we get into these talking points, like the whole defund the police movement, like that just blew my mind. Okay,
it's one of the stupidest things. I'm on record of saying it multiple shows. One of the stupidest things this country's ever done. Yeah,
it's like, okay, there are problems, and I know we have to fix certain things within a system, but the law enforcement system, police officers, they chose a path, a career that they put their life on the line for the safety of society at a pay rate that may not be at the high end of the pay scale, right?
Yeah.
It's a selfless position.
Sadly.
Right. A selfless, same thing with the military. That's a selfless position. And I give those people all the credit in the world.
All of our first responders, honestly.
Absolutely right. Like they've chosen a career where they put others above themselves. And that is admirable in my mind. We should not be defunding anything. We should be fixing problems within every system and putting money to fix those problems. But by making a talking point of let's defund the police, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? Crime is going to go down. Like, oh, we'll just all get along now. No, fuck, criminals are criminals. Like, that's in my mind, the whole gun debate's the same thing. I get we need things to fix and we have to fix the system, but a criminal is a criminal.
Our grandparents used to say the following: "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater."
Right? Yes.
That was a pretty big phrase. And as a young person, I
had
no idea what that meant.
I know
As
exactly
you become
what it means
a functioning adult, you get it. You can't fix a problem by completely upsetting the entire apple and doing the exact opposite.
Correct.
It's called moderation and critical thought, and we learned this shit in the third grade.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's such a guttural reaction to atrocity. When George Floyd was brutalized like he was, your guttural reaction is that fuck those officers. Yeah. But not fuck the police.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Right? Those officers or officer, whoever did that, and any similar behavior needs to be appropriately dealt with.
Right.
And maybe that has not happened, and that needs to change.
Yes.
I'm on board.
Yes.
But don't throw the entire police.
You can't throw the system out.
Yeah,
you can't do it. And that should have been talked about more, in my opinion. There are systemic problems that can be fixed.
Of course.
But we got to talk about the problems, not the entire system. But anyways.
But oh my God, we're acting like when you have mob mentality on any issue, you are acting like a infant. You've now taken the mental capacity of an adult.
Yes.
And driven it down to the most elemental form.
Correct.
And you're now acting as an infant.
Correct.
With no ability to critically think in the most minor way.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. believable.
Listen, dude, because again, like just reading articles, like, oh, we didn't expect crime rates to go up in cities that
I read that this past week.
Are you shitting me? Like, are you shitting me? Like,
put no consequences in.
That would be like, okay, we're gonna put a bunch of 3-year-olds in a room that we tell them don't fucking eat those cookies, and then we take the adult out of the room and the cookies are sitting there. They're gonna fucking eat the cookies. That's their natural instinct, right? If you remove the gateway that is preventing people from doing something, and people have the propensity to do something, when the gateway is gone, something happens.
Rocco, it may have taken me half a century to figure this out, but there are just a portion of society of people that their natural compunction is to either harm someone else,
yes,
take from somebody else, or just do civilly disobedient shit.
Yes.
Their natural compunction is, and I'm not really interested at finding out why they are this way. We can probably think about it.
Yeah, sure.
Bad parenting, bad community influences, TV, could be radio, could be video games, whatever.
Yeah.
The point is, it's still happening.
Correct. Yes.
And these people, given the latitude, are going to take advantage of that and do harm.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely right. Yes.
And that swath of people we're talking about cover every demographic.
Absolutely right. Yes.
Every gender, every race, every age, everything.
Yep. An asshole's an asshole.
Bingo.
Criminal's a criminal.
1,000,000%. And because we know that this group of humans, given the ability, the leeway, are going to take advantage of that, you have to put a constraint on that. That's called law enforcement.
Yes.
Enforcing the laws.
Right. Look at the cities where they said, we're not going to prosecute shoplifters. They were just going in the stores and taking whatever the fuck they wanted and just walking out.
It's pretty simple.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it's like, am I in like, am I in wacko land? This is not this can't be reality. Right. So the Republicans have decided to bring back another contract with America, which was that 1994. Newt Gingrich and Trent Lott and a couple other Republican leaders at that time brought that to the American public. And I think it was enough to convince the American public to give them control of the House for the first time at that point in like 60 years. So now they're back. McCarthy's back with something called the Commitment to America or for America?
Commitment to America.
Okay, Commitment to America.
New marketing.
So there's 4 major tenets. I want to vet those out. An economy that's strong, a nation that is safe, a future that is free, a government that is accountable. So on the face of those 4,
love them.
Any rational Democrat is going to think of course I want that.
Yeah.
Just like any rational Republican.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that?
Correct. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. Those are basic things. Yes. Good economy, safe country.
So are we as a public just dumber now, and they know it, so they can market to us dumb? Are we dumber now than we were in 1994?
Yes.
As a public.
Yes.
I kind of believe we probably are.
100%. 100% we are.
Which doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't
because we
dumber.
don't have to think anymore. We can just go to Google, type in something, and get our answer. We don't have to think about finding an answer. Like, think about when we were in school. To find an answer, to do a research paper, we actually had to go and read shit and put things together and analyze it.
It's called learning.
We had to learn. We had to analyze. We had to digest. We had to deduce. We had to do these certain things, thought processes that transferred well into adult life. Now, you can go and literally term paper for U.S. History 101. Psht, $20 you can buy one online. You don't have to do shit. So our level of thinking has changed. And I think, the average, intelligence, I would love to see statistics on this. Like, has the average IQ of Americans decreased over time? Because you would think technology would allow it to increase because there's more access to information. But I think that has a detrimental effect because there is more access. It's just lazy. Exactly. There's more access to information. We don't have to think to get the information. We can just type to get the information. Different thing.
Yeah, because you can make the argument that it's not really learning.
Right.
When you read, you immerse yourself in the content.
Correct.
And there's an understanding inversely that can come from reading. a copy and paste society.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I mean, I know people that have taken tests where they have the test up on one screen and Google up on the other screen. They'll just copy the test question into Google and the answer pops up. And it's just like, dude.
Sounds like every real estate agent I know taking their
I'm not
continuing ed.
I'm not saying it was a real estate agent, but I'm not saying it wasn't.
Continuing ed.
I feel like that's every continuing ed that you have to pass an exam for.
But my point, though, is it's like, hey, here's a contract. We're going to promise to do these things. It's just another restatement of, and pretty generally, that most humans are probably going to agree with the tenets of this stuff. We can argue about how we get there, but
like a lot of the details of some of them, right? Okay, economy. They want to bring jobs back. They want to,
who doesn't?
Right, but they want to cut off supply chain issues with China. Mm-hmm. They want to make U.S. energy independent. There's people against that, right?
Yeah, so now we're drilling down to the differences.
Right, exactly. So there's that. There's, deregulation and lower taxes. Well, there's the whole other argument on that. We should be regulating more, So there are, once you drill, like, on its face, the four, who wouldn't want that? Drill down, be like, don't want that, don't like that, don't like that. Because there are people that just want the government to do everything.
Yes, and that is a difference in society in the last 30 years or so. Mm-hmm. Definitely in the last 40 years. But we definitely expect the government to do for us now.
Yeah.
It wasn't that way. Before the web in general, again, not pointing to 96 or 95 as the starting point, but we really, coming out of 9/11, and definitely coming out of the pandemic, we expect the government to do stuff for us.
Yeah. And again, I believe in small government. That's me. And I just think there are certain fundamental things that government should do, right? But we can't rely on the government for everything. And the government needs to be held accountable. Like, that's the problem I have, right? There's no accountability, really. Like, you have these career politicians. Mm-hmm. Like, who's holding them accountable? Their district, maybe? But they're there.
In theory, their district should.
But they're not.
Well, I don't think,
term limits.
Yes, that's the solution. But I have no compunction saying it that we are not a very responsible society anymore.
No, not at all.
We're not deep thinkers. We're not even oftentimes second level thinkers.
No, we're on its face.
Yeah, it's like that movie Idiocracy. It's kind of like it's actually happened. I mean, I know it's satire, but is it?
Is it?
Might not really be.
There are some pieces of that movie I'm just like, that's kind of, I've seen that happen in society. Is that really, is this real life? Because I feel like it might be.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I because these are all like little period pieces every show. I have to note, friends, I went to the Elton John show. If you haven't gone and seen it, he is something. He is definitely something and a part of the lives of so many of us. Mm-hmm. And another reason I had to take pause and realize, hey, we can be lured into so many other things going around us and our tension, and often it's negative. But there's like some really amazing shit that's happened in our lives.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to partake and enjoy them to realize how wonderful it is. Music being, for me personally, for being one of that, but being there and listening to songs that go back 50 years and the impact they have on society and how they move people and how they bring people together. That show had every demographic of age and gender and nationality and color and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And everybody just sitting there enjoying this guy sing a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
Which on the face of it sounds very simple.
No, but hey, that was Las Vegas for me. I was in Las Vegas that weekend. It's like a place where people go to just be people.
Right.
Not be a party, not be a demographic, to just be people having a good time. We need to get back to that in society. Like, we need to remember that if you look at the world, right, it is a really fucking good place.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually fucking amazing. The things we get to do. America's the greatest country there is. Yeah, we all have, there's faults, right? And there's flaws in the systems. Mm-hmm. But I've been around the world. I've seen other places. There's not a fucking chance I would live anywhere else but here.
Right.
We got to remember that and realize that we're all just people. We can get along with it. We can have differing opinions, but we don't have to hate each other. We don't have to be offended by each other.
100%.
Like, we grew up, if you were offended, it's like, you fucking dealt with it. Like, if someone said something I didn't like, you either got into a fight with them or just fucking avoided them. You didn't say, poor me, my feelings are hurt.
So I hope I can articulate this correctly. I had a moment when I was looking at the crowd and listening to a couple songs, and it was a very clear moment because I don't drink anymore. So it's it was very lucid. But I said, here we are sitting at a concert that's absolutely packed.
Yeah.
40+ thousand people. Wow. I have a guy in his 70s who has a 50-year career of creating popular music that is so beloved by huge swaths of our public, but his lifestyle he's a very open homosexual. Yeah. He's been a very he's lived a very public lifestyle.
Yeah.
And a lifestyle that maybe a good portion of his fans wouldn't be in alignment with. But see, the great thing about it is the beauty of the art this man has created, and what those words in his songs have meant to all of us, or so many of us, creates a love affair for this man and his work.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what we should be doing.
Yes. Exactly.
Because somebody is a gay person, and you might be a staunch conservative. If you like the person's music, why would you not enjoy that music?
Right.
Why would you let a label on any human stop you from interacting with them, is my point.
I completely agree.
It's insane. Yet we do it all the time.
And again, but I think to your point, right, it's because we do surface level thinking. I think sophisticated thinking is, we all have differences. There's things I do that you probably don't like, and vice versa. But you
root for the Red Sox.
I don't get that. We like the A's, which isn't any better, man. So fuck off. But I'm just saying, but that's it's sophisticated thinking. Like, just, I have many people in my life that are all different demographics, different. I don't care.
That's the beauty of life.
I like the person. Yeah. It's about the person.
Yeah, man.
Like that 100%. Like, again, that one video we watched earlier about the guy talking about, like, how we grew up as Generation X. Like, we didn't get into race and all this stuff. It was like, if you were an asshole, you were an asshole.
We didn't care about labels.
We didn't care about labels. It was just like, if you were a good person, I liked you. If you were a dickhead, I didn't like you. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter the label. There's no labels. And I grew up that way. And that's how I look at the world. Like, I don't label people.
Yeah.
It's just, you're either a good human being or you're not. That's how I look at it.
And I guess that was my point, was I watched this man who has lived a very open life, right? And flamboyant life.
Yeah.
He's been an openly gay man for a long time.
Yes.
But yet he's beloved by, and I cannot imagine that there's only liberal thinking people that love Elton. Of course not.
Right.
But that's my point. Like, that is, so I guess what I'm saying is, that is an example of how music unifies.
It does.
We just have to take the stance and step back for a second and realize that it does that.
Yeah, it really
and how
does.
can we apply that philosophy to other parts of our lives? Quit putting fucking litmus tests on humans, whether you're going to partake in them or not, or like them, or heaven forbid, make a campaign to vehemently not like them, which is even worse.
I mean, look, right? I just say life is so much easier if you wake up and choose to be happy and kind. Like, it's really, if you just choose, like, you're going to have bad days and stressful days. I get that. But if you just wake up and choose, like, I'm going to be a happy, good, kind person today, it's very easy to navigate life. It's when people have these negative frames of reference or frames of mind, they want to label things and be offended by things. They're the ones that lead the most difficult lives.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for something. They're looking to be offended. They're looking to be victimized in certain instances. I think if you live your life in a way of, I'm going to look for the good in everybody, right? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be kind. I have good days and bad days, but that's my natural instinct, is to be that way.
Right.
Life's a lot easier to navigate.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's almost in a way like, if you, I won't even say it's an intellectually devoid way of living. I won't even say that. It's just, you're shortchanging yourself.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
If you of life's experiences, if you are always looking to brand a person one way or another, a good or a bad person, based upon their lifestyle, based upon their political affiliations, based upon the kind of work they do, and heaven forbid you're doing it for the color of their skin or their ethnicity or their religion or whatever. Right. If you're looking to do that, you're never going to be happy, because you will always be able to find some kind of fault with that human that doesn't match up to your exact way of living.
Exactly
What a shitty way to exist.
It's the worst way to exist. I would never want to live that way ever. And I feel bad for anybody that does.
Yeah. I mean, I it was very apparent to me in that show that this is a guy who has transcended generations and transcended, and he has lived his life unapologetically and has done a lot of good for a lot of people. But that music, and not just Elton, lots of performers. Yep, that music is a gift. And maybe we just need to start looking at as a gift.
Exactly.
I
completely agree.
Because you and I can't do that. We can't. We can't create something as enjoyable to listen to as something as like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. We can't do that.
Speak for yourself, man. This is like a masterpiece.
Well, yeah, but I mean, from a musical standpoint, we can't create that. So if we like what someone else is doing, why can't we respect them as a human being?
We should.
Right?
We should. We gotta quit fucking labeling people and just be a fucking human being.
So we're gonna end the show talking a little bit about the Generation X. Now, I can't say that I really understand all this stuff. I was always aware of the baby boomers, Gen X's, and Gen Z's.
Millennials, too.
Millennials and Gen Z's, right? So I understood the terms. I didn't know where the cutoffs were. Hell, I didn't even really know that I thought I was on the tail end of the baby boomers, but apparently I'm being born in 66 and being the cutoff being 64. Apparently I am a Gen Xer. Fascinating.
Welcome to the greatest generation.
Things you learn. But Rocco's pretty passionate about Gen X's being built different.
I am.
And so forth. And I want to just ask you a little bit about why you think Gen X's are badass.
Because we don't give a fuck. Let's just be honest. Like, I mean, we grew up differently, right? We didn't have technology. We didn't have all this social media. We learned to interact with people face to face, right? I grew up in Newcastle, right? Every demographic possible. Learn how to just deal with different people. I just think our generation, like, we don't give a fuck. We don't get offended. We just do our thing, and if we don't like you, we fucking tell you, and we avoid you. Like, we don't play the I'm hurt, I'm offended card. I'm not saying that's a card, but there are a lot of people out there in other generations that use that quite a bit. I just think we're just built differently. I truly believe that. And I say it half in jest, but I really believe we are. We're just, because the way we grew up, I can remember like the latchkey kids, right? Like, that's what we were. Like, our parents were. So, I'm 10 years old coming home after school by myself. Like, I wouldn't do that now for my kids, because it's a different world. We did that. I remember, like, as a kid, leaving in the morning on my bike and not coming home till dark. My parents had no fucking clue where I was. Like, we would literally drive a bike trail to Ohio and then drive back. Like, no one gave a shit.
So I think the biggest reason why Gen X is unique is because we remember the before times.
Yeah, we do.
We remember before 95. And I always use 95 as like the year that the web smacked the public in the face. It took a couple of years later before it started to get entrenched.
Yes.
It smacked the public in 95.
Yep.
So we remember, now, along with the web too, is the proliferation of cell phones. And uniquely, I was in a position, since I worked for cell phone companies in the early 90s and all the way through paging and all that stuff, I kind of watched all this happen.
Yep.
But the public wasn't aware of the web, so we were still having to buy our magazines.
Yes.
We had to go to the mall and buy things.
I had a pager.
Yeah, pagers were a thing.
Yes.
PageNets, yes. But the point was, we remember when the world was simpler.
Yep.
Right? A little slower.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe a little more real.
More engaging, I would say.
Human interaction.
Just more engaging.
You can make that argument.
Because I remember even like in my early days dating, right? You had to actually talk to people face to face. You had to meet somebody out somewhere. You couldn't just go on an app and just start swiping. You actually had to like go up and talk to someone. Like, as a guy, you had to like shit your pants and go over and talk to a group of girls and hope you don't sound like an asshole, you know, or you bring your friend with you, like, hey, let's go talk to these. Like, you had to have interaction.
Wasn't that part of the beauty
that was
of life,
that was
growing
the best part.
up?
Yes,
right?
Like that's what I love. Like that's why I say we are different, because we did also come up in we had social media like in our 20s and 30s, right? Like we saw that side, but we got to pick the best from both. And I think the way we grew up, like I had to learn to interact with people. I had to talk to people. We didn't look at color. We didn't look at demographics. We just looked at people, good or bad.
1,000,000%.
That was it. If you were a good person, we were friends. If you were an asshole, we weren't friends. That's it. Regardless of your color of your skin, your background, your socioeconomics, it didn't fucking matter. It was about the person, 100%. The character of the person. That's how it was. And I think our parents instilled values in us. I think, you know, my mom always said, I don't give a shit what you do in life as long as you're the hardest worker at whatever path you choose. And that stuck with me. And that was just, it was a work ethic. The baby boomers taught us. I think we were raised by baby boomers, and they were badasses. Let's be honest. Like those people, like they went through some shit. They taught us how to go through some shit. We made a mistake of teaching our kids that tried to make life easy for them. Like I've tried to reverse that with my kids and teach them certain principles, but there's definitely things that I do that I know my parents wouldn't have done for me. Because you want to give your kids more, right? But I just think there's something about the way we grew up that, like, when I hear people complain about shit, I'm like, I wouldn't even be a fucking thought in my head. Like, I wouldn't even think about that. Like, that doesn't even register on my radar. Like, you're complaining about that? Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
they're just we're not a soft generation. I don't mean to talk about any other generation in a negative way, and that's not the intention of this. All I'm saying is if I compare our generation to other generations and how they work in the world, I think the generations after us have become soft. Not everybody in that generation, but a large portion of those generations, like they want coddled. They want, you know, you're the best, you're the greatest. No, you're not. Prove you're the best, and I'll tell you you're the best.
I do think it's a combination of technology coupled with softer parenting.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And like, I don't know anybody in my generation, like my circle of friends, that have said, I've been offended by something. Like, I don't know. I actually try to think about it. Like anybody that, you know, that is in my circle, that is in that demographic, like late 30s to your age, we'll say, you know, but late 50s. Kidding. Just kidding.
Great.
But I don't remember anybody ever saying, I'm really offended by that.
Yeah.
It's just like, we just fucking deal with it.
I'm with you.
Like, and then I hear all these other people like, that's offensive. That offends me. I'm like, does it? Does it? I mean, it's just it's a different world, man.
It is, my friend. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, we will.
Do this all over again.
We will.
Friends, we appreciate y'all. I think this was episode 10.
Let's hope
It'll
so.
say somewhere up here on the thing, but we appreciate y'all. 2 weeks, and we'll come back at it, and we'll do it again.